Did you ever notice that when you are happy with yourself and your life, things tend to go really well for you? And when you are not satisfied with your life, when you blame and stress, things go even harder for you. It's the same for everyone, because life gives you what you give yourself first. If you are ready to learn how to walk the path of success and turn bad experiences into joy and bliss, then this video is for you. Before we start, I invite you to join our community of truth seekers and subscribe to our channel. Our feelings sometimes tie us to past events. You might remember something that deeply affected you, and it feels like you can't move forward from it. These feelings can dominate your thoughts, keeping you stuck in the past. If this happens often enough, your body gets used to living in those memories. Surprisingly, your body can even start shaping a new future based on this past mindset. But there's a way to break free. By focusing on positive emotions like love, gratitude, inspiration, courage, and feeling unstoppable, we can steer ourselves towards the future. When we learn something new and think about how to use it, our brains start rewiring themselves. Normally, our brains are like records of everything we've experienced, but now they're transforming into blueprints for what's ahead. When we imagine our future and feel the emotions it brings, our bodies respond as if it's already happening. It's like a sneak peek into tomorrow that our bodies believe is real today. This shift isn't just in our minds, it actually affects our biology. Studies have shown that simply imagining doing something can make our bodies stronger without us ever physically doing it. For example, in one study, people who mentally rehearsed exercising their muscles saw significant increases in strength, even though they never lifted a weight. Just by imagining themselves putting in the effort, their bodies responded as if they were actually doing it. So, our thoughts have the power to shape our bodies and our future, even without taking a single step. Understanding why this matters is crucial. When our brain and body act as if an event has already occurred, it means we're prepared for it. So we can relax knowing that whatever we're expecting will eventually come to us. When we react emotionally to something or someone, it changes how our body works internally. We get affected in various ways, depending on the emotion. Negative feelings like stress, anger, frustration, and fear trigger specific hormones in our body. These hormones give us a jolt of energy, making us more alert and focused. They also help us remember these experiences vividly because they're so intense. But here's the catch. These emotions don't just affect our bodies. They also alter how we see the world. When we're in the grip of strong emotions, our perception gets skewed. This means we might say or do things we later regret, like sending an angry email or snapping at someone. When we let these emotional reactions linger, they can shape our mood for hours, days, or even longer. Imagine being stuck in a bad mood because of something that happened days or months ago. It becomes a part of who we are, defining our temperament and eventually our personality. The problem is, these emotions start to drive our thoughts. We get trapped in a cycle where our feelings dictate our thinking, and our thinking reinforces those feelings. This creates fixed patterns in our brain, making it hard to break free from the past. But there's hope. By understanding how emotions influence us, we can learn to control our reactions. Instead of letting anger or fear dominate us, we can transform those feelings into something positive, like inspiration. It's all about harnessing that energy and using it to drive us forward. So, let's talk about what happens when we face similar situations that stir up the same feelings as before. If we haven't dealt with those emotions from the past, especially anger, it shows we haven't grown or learned from our experiences. As we start to tackle those old emotions, something magical happens. When we consciously choose different habits, behaviors, and responses, we're basically rewiring our brains. those old neural pathways that kept us stuck in the past begin to fade away, like pruning a tree. Every time we prune away those old connections, we're essentially shedding the memory of our old selves. It's like hitting the reset button, but on a deeper level. This newfound wisdom isn't just stored in our brains, it's in our souls. And that's when we can truly start fresh, free from the emotional baggage that held us back. Now, don't get me wrong, emotions are a vital part of life. They add color and excitement to our experiences. But it's not about whether we react. It's about how long we stay stuck in that reaction. Like kids who throw a tantrum but quickly move on, we need to teach ourselves and our children how to bounce back faster. That's what resilience is all about. If we let our emotions control us for too long, they become ingrained in our personality. We start using them to manipulate situations to our advantage. But if we can learn to move past those initial emotional responses, we gain clarity and resilience. We can make better choices and see things more clearly without the fog of emotion clouding our judgment. So, reacting isn't inherently bad, it's part of being human. But learning to bounce back quickly, to let those emotional storms pass without getting swept away, that's where true growth lies. Because do you know what happens when our body goes into fight or flight mode? This is when we need a sudden burst of energy because our brain thinks there's an emergency. We become hyper alert and super focused. Now, there are different levels of this heightened state called beta. Picture it like gears in a car. Low-level beta is when you're just slightly on edge, mid-range beta is a bit more intense, and high-range beta is like being in full panic mode. When we're in high-range beta, our brain is like a car stuck in first gear. It's revving too hard and things start to break down. Our thoughts become jumbled and we get stuck in a loop of overanalyzing our problems, which only makes us feel worse. But here's the thing. To break free from this cycle, we need to shift from beta to alpha. In alpha, our inner world becomes more real than the outer world. This is where meditation comes in handy. It helps quiet the noise from the outside world and allows us to tap into our inner wisdom. You might not realize it, but you slip into alpha mode more often than you think, like when you're driving and suddenly lose track of time. That's your brain shifting gears, focusing more on your inner thoughts than the external world. So instead of getting stuck in high beta, where we can't think clearly, it's important to find ways to tap into that alpha state, whether it's through meditation or simply taking a moment to breathe and reflect. It's about quieting the chaos outside so we can find clarity within. And once we have that clarity, the next step is figuring out how to apply it to our lives. So, once you start putting all this into action, you're not just talking the talk, you're walking the walk. When you can consistently reproduce positive experiences based on what you've learned, that's when you're truly mastering your knowledge. It's like going from knowing something in theory to knowing it inside and out, like the back of your hand. Once you reach that point of deep understanding, where you not only know, but you've actually done it countless times, it becomes a part of who you are. And that's where we need to aim as a society. We need to move past just discussing ideas and theories and start putting them into practice. That's why workshops and hands-on learning experiences are so crucial. It's not just about gathering information, it's about learning how to apply it in real life. Imagine setting aside just 1 hour of your day to disconnect from the noise of the world and focus solely on your inner self. Picture yourself envisioning the best version of yourself and working towards embodying that ideal. It's about transcending your everyday worries and distractions to tap into your true potential. When you become aware of your unconscious thoughts and behaviors, you're less susceptible to being manipulated by external forces. Fear, neediness, and the desire for validation can all be used to control us. But when we learn to transform those survival instincts into higher states of consciousness, we become more awake and aware. Think about it. When everyone else is following the crowd out of fear or uncertainty, you're standing tall, charting your own course. It's about daring to challenge the status quo and staying true to your vision until it becomes reality. So, don't be afraid to step outside the norm and forge your own path. Who knows? What seems crazy now might just be the spark of genius that changes everything. Nowadays, more and more people are waking up to the truth. They're seeing through the lies, the greed, and the constant competition. It's becoming clear that this model of living isn't sustainable. In nature, organisms don't thrive by constantly competing against each other. They survive by working together, cooperating. And right now, we're at a crucial moment where we need to start waking up to this reality. So how do we do that? Well, it starts with us, with you and me. If we can each make positive changes in our own lives, letting go of resentment, jealousy, and other negative emotions, those changes will ripple out into the world. We don't need to wait for some famous leader to show us the way. Each of us has the power to be a force for good in our own way. Science is one of the tools we can use to understand and demystify these concepts. It's a language that unites us, cutting across cultural and religious divides. Unlike tradition or religion, which can sometimes divide us, science has a way of bringing people together. But there's a problem in our society today, especially among young people. Many are becoming addicted to the rush of dopamine that comes from things like video games or social media. They're constantly seeking out that next hit of pleasure, but they're unable to find joy in simple things like learning or spending time with loved ones. This addiction to pleasure is keeping them stuck in a cycle of negativity. They're unable to break free from their own programming, and it's leading to a whole host of problems later in life. But there is hope. By becoming aware of our unconscious patterns and behaviors, we can start to break free from their grip. It's not easy, but it's possible. Through practices like meditation and self-reflection, we can begin to denature those negative emotions that hold us back. By observing ourselves and surrendering to a greater wisdom, we can find true joy and fulfillment. And that's something worth striving for.